Hey guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today is our day 13 of Python programming playlist, and today we are going to learn nested loops and patterns. Okay, so many times we use a loop inside another loop, and this concept is called as nested loops. Today we will see nested loops and we will practice pattern printing programs. So syntax of nested loops. For element in expression, this is the first parent loop. Inside of that we have another for loop, and line number 3 is body of that second for loop, and line number 4 is body of parent for loop. So without any ado, let's get started and let's see and let's study about nested loops. Hey guys, so I am in this Visual Studio Code here, and today we are going to learn about a very interesting topic, which is nested loops. Okay, so here what we are going to learn is we are going to nest two loops. Like we are going to use first loop, and inside of that first loop we are going to use our second loop. Okay, and you can do that in many ways, like first loop, second loop, third loop, fourth loop. You can add many loops as you want. Okay, so first of all, I have this code here. This code is from my previous video. If you haven't watched it yet, then you can find the link in the I button now. And if you haven't accessed my Python programming playlist, then you can find the link in the description below. Okay, with that said, so let us continue with our nested loops. Okay, so basically I will give you a rough idea what nested loops are. So I will create a loop. So let's say for I in range 1 to 10, let's say. Okay, or let's make it 11. So for I in range 1 to 11, what will happen here is I will go from starting from 1 up to 10. Okay, and then I have another loop for I, let's say for j in range. We cannot use I here because we have already used our I in our first loop, so I am using j. So for j in range, let's say from 1 to 5. Okay, that means from 1 to 4. Okay, this loop will go from 1 to 4. Now what will happen here is so first of all we have our code here, so we will print something. So let's just print j here, and in here we will simply print our I. So now what will happen in this case? So first of all, our I was 1 to 10. Okay, so our I was 1 to 10 basically. So I started from 1. So initially our I is 1. So for I is equal to 1, we are running our loop. So now what will happen? We will come to the next line, and on line 2 there is another loop. So now I is 1 and j is 1 as well, because j is starting from 1. Okay, so j is 1 as well. So we will simply print j here, which is 1. Then we will increase the j again. Okay, because this loop will run again. So j was 1 now. Then we will print 2, 3, 4, 5 similarly. Okay, so we will print 1 to 4 numbers here, and then we will print this, because when this loop executes totally, then we will move on to the next line. Okay, so now on line 4 we will simply print the I, which was 1 initially. Okay, and its value is not changed until yet. So now what will happen? I will be 2 in our next iteration. So now when I is equal to 2, then j will run again for 5 times, and then we will print I again. Okay, then our I will be 3, then j will run again for 5 times, and then our I will be printed. Okay, then our I will be 4, j will be run again for 5 times, then our I will be printed. So just like that this program will work. Okay, so now let me run this program. Its output is going to be huge, as you can see. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so this is 1, 2, 3, 4 printed by j. Okay, as you can see here, 1, 2, 3, 4 printed with help of this line 3, because of this line 3. Then on line 4 we are printing I. As we have printed numbers from 1 to 4, that means this loop has been executed completely. Now we are executing line number 4. So on line number 4 we print I. So what our I was initially? Our I was 1, so we get 1 here. So now similarly I is equal to 2 here, then 2 here, then I is equal to 3 here, and these all values starting from 1 to 4, then again 1 to 4 are because of this j. Okay, so just like that we have printed this output on the terminal. So here I have gave you the rough idea of what nested loops are. So now what we are going to do, we are going to write a code which is very interesting and which is very popular among all the industry, all the IT industry, which is pattern printing program. Okay, like star printing program. Various times while in interviews or in your college, you will find this program. Okay, so now let us print that. So now what we have here is we have to print these stars. Okay, 1 star, 2 star, then 3 stars on next line, then 4 stars on third line. Okay, so what we have to do is we have to print stars in this triangular pattern, and we have to take input from user. First of all, we will simply print this. Okay, we will simply write this code. Now let me just simply comment this out. So we have to print this stars only, not this hash. Hash is due to hash is here because this is a comment. Okay, so we have this star pattern here. So now what we have to do is, first of all, we will use a for loop. Okay, for I in range. Okay, the range will start from 1 because our star is 1 here. Okay, from 1 to how many lines are there? We have to print 1, 2, 3 and 4 lines. So we will print 4 stars. Okay, so up to 4. So I will provide 5 here because with using 4 we will simply go up to, with using 4 we will go up to 3, and with using 5 we will go up to 4. So now we have this loop here. Okay, so that's it. Then we have for j, we will, now what we will do is when I will be equal to 1, we will run j which will be less than I always. Okay, so I is equal to 1, j will also be equal to 1, so it will print a star. Then I is equal to 2, j will be also j will start from 0 and it will go up to 2. Sorry, start from 1 and go up to 2. So 1 and then 2. Then when I is equal to 3, then j will also start from 1 because this loop will execute again and again. The internal loop will execute again for I. When I will be equal to 1, this loop will execute. Then for I equal to 2, this loop will execute. So just like that, when I is equal to 1, j will be less than or equal to I. So that's why j will go up to 1. Then for I is equal to 2, j will start again because j is a internal loop. Okay, so what will happen, j will start from 1 and again it will go up to I. So 1 and 2 because I is 2 in this case. Now j will start again and it will go up to 3 because I will be 3 in next iteration. Then I will be 4 in last iteration, and j will be always less than or equal to I. So j will start from 1 again and it will go up to 4 again. So just like that, this internal loop is running again and again, and we are using this for loop for the number of lines basically. For the first loop for number of lines, and the second loop to print this number of stars. Okay, so just like that we are going to use. Okay, so now what we will do is for I in range 1 to 5. Okay, so I in range 1 to 5, what we are going to do is we are going to run another loop for j in range. J should start from 1 and it should go up to I. Okay, so it should go up to I plus 1. Why I plus 1? Because if I will provide I and I is 1, then the loop will simply go up to 0. So that's why I plus 1. Now because as we know, if we want 4 lines here, then we provide 5. So if I want I lines, I will provide I plus 1. Okay, so now what I want to do is I want to print. What I want to print? I want to print a star. Okay, but if I will just print this star, what will happen is you can see that each star will come to the next line. Okay, so I will simply just do one thing. I will provide an end. Okay, this end is another you can say another parameter to this function or another value to this function, and with using this empty space, what will happen is our program will not go to the new line each time or each iteration. Okay, So this is just our first approach to this program. I'm going to show you much more easier approach in Python. Okay, with using Python, how powerful Python is, I'm going to show you that approach as well. So now let me run this code. As you can see, we have 1 star at first line, we have 2 stars at second line, we have 3 stars at third line, and we have 4 stars at line number 4. So now if you will remove this as well, the program will run perfectly fine. So now if I will remove that print \n, then what happened here is we get everything in single line. So for that we definitely need this. My fault, sorry. So okay, we need this. And if you are confused that what this \n is, these are called escape sequences in Python. Okay, so there are many escape sequences like \n, which is used for new line. Okay, so if you have a string, let me just introduce you. Okay, so if I want to print this string here, like my name is Vedant, okay, and then I will use \n, and I am a programmer. Okay, so if I have these two sentences, let me just comment out this code. Okay, so I have these this string here, okay, in this print statement, and as you know, if we don't use this \n, this string will be printed directly on the terminal. But with using this \n, what will happen is we will move on to the next line after this \n. So this my name is Vedant will be printed on one line, and this I am a programmer will be printed on second line. So let me run this code, and as you can see, and due to this space, we are seeing this space here. So if I will remove that space as well, you can see, okay, this output here. So with using this \n, we get this output. Now, okay, so now with using \t, okay, so it is used like tab. Okay, so with using this, what will happen is we will give these spaces here. Okay, as you can see this arrow, it is tab. Okay, so \t is used for that. So what you can do is you can use \n and \t simultaneously, and what will happen is you will get this output. Okay, these 4 spaces due to this tab, and new line due to this \n. So just like that, this escape sequences work. Okay, so you can practice them as well. So practice them well. So you can find these on Google. You can search for escape sequences in Python, and if you don't if you want something from me, then I will leave the link below to the documentation or to some other blog website where you can read about these escape sequences basically. So let me just remove the comments here. So now what we have done here so far, that we have printed this pattern. Okay, so now what we can do basically here is we are simply printing pattern, okay, which looks like this. But what if I want pattern like this? Okay, so if I want the pattern like this, if I want the pattern to change as per the value entered by user, okay, so I will take user input. So we will take user input like rows is equal to how many row, sorry, input, first of all input. Okay, and this input will be an integer, so we pass this int here, which is a function in Python, which will convert this input value, which is a string by default, to an integer. And we are using integers here, aren't we? Yes, we are. So we are using integers, so that's why we need that. So now what we will do is we will write enter number of rows. Okay, so enter the number of rows. So enter number of rows, and here we will take the number of rows, and what we will do is we will simply take that in our, we will simply store that in our row variable. Okay, so now what we want is we want this to go up to row plus 1, okay, rows plus 1. So now our loop will always go up to this point, and this rows is the value which was entered by the user. So if user enters 5, then we will see 5 lines. If user enters 3, we will see 3 lines. Okay, So now let me run this code. So to run this code, we are now we are using this input here. Okay, so our output, which is a code runner, our code runner will not take any input here because it is only read only terminal. It's not it doesn't support write in. So what you have to do is you have to run your code in this terminal. So run Python file in terminal, select this option, and here now you can provide 4, and if you provide 4, you can see you have these 4 lines of code. If you have provided number 5, you can see 5 lines of code. Okay, so 1 2 3 and 5. Okay, so just like that. So with using this input, you can always make your program responsive, or you can make your program to adjust with the number. What here is happening is user is entering a number, and we are manipulating our program to go up to that point. Okay, so now we are not hard coding our program. So with using this approach, it is much more cleaner. Okay, so now here what is happening, I will explain this again. So now I is going from 1 to let's say 5 here. Okay, or rows plus 1 if user entered 5. So let me just rename this to 5 here. Okay, so now what is happening is we are this I is going from 1 to 4. Okay, so we are printing this code here. So we are going from 1 to 4, and what will happen for I is equal to 1. So when I will be 1, this J loop will always go from 1 to I. Okay, so 1 to I. So I is 1 and it will go from 1 to 1. So it will simply print 1 star, and loop will end here. This child loop will end here, and what we are doing here is we are printing \n, and it is used to come to the next line. Okay, so what will happen is it will come to the next line, and with using this end is equal to nothing, what is happening that we are printing these 2 stars in similar line. If we don't use this, then what will happen that all the stars will get printed in same line, not in same line, in you can say on new line each. Okay, so that's why we are using this end here, which is another value in print statement. So what we are doing, for I is equal to 1, this loop will run once. Okay, this for loop will run once. Okay, so now if I is equal to 2, this for loop will go from 1 and it will run twice. So what will happen is it will print star once and it will print star again, which is twice, so that the star will get printed twice here. So now for I is equal to 3, so when I will be 3, this loop will go from 1 to 3, as we have gave it this range function. Okay, so it will go from 1 to 3, and this loop will print 3 stars because we have printed star here for each iteration. Okay, so 3 stars will be printed. For I is equal to 4, this J will go from 1 to 4, and that's why we will see 4 stars on 4th line. So just like that, what is happening here, that we are running J up to I. Okay, so if I is 10, then J will run starting from 1 to 10. Okay, and the code we have provided here is simply printing a star, so that's why J will print that many stars. Okay, so just like that we can write this program here. So, and what we have done here is we have took the input from user, and we said that enter number of rows. So user will get this message that enter the number of rows, and he will enter, or he or she, so the user will enter the number of rows which the user wants. Then what will happen is our program will take that value, convert it to integer. Okay, and it will store it in this rows variable. And what will happen is we are printing this I. Okay, we are printing this from 1 to 5 if I want 4 lines. But now if I want lines that user wants, okay, if I want to print the lines that user wants to see, then what I will do is I will provide rows. But do you think that just with providing these rows we will get the desired output? No, because what will happen if we provide rows, if we provided 5, what was happened that we got 4 lines. Okay, so if we provide this rows here, if user entered 10, then it will the user will get 9 lines of output. So we must add 1 here in this rows. So just like that we can we can achieve the desired output here. So let me run this program. Okay, so enter number of rows. So I will enter 12, and you can see 12 lines of program, okay, or 12 lines of output. If I will enter 3, then you can see 3 lines here. Okay, so just like that you can achieve desired output with using this code. So now this is somehow the harder approach. Now if you are learning Python, why you are learning Python? Because Python is the most easiest language I have experienced. Okay, so now with using Python, what you can do, you don't need this thing. Okay, you don't need anything like this. You just simply need this first loop. Okay, so let me just comment out this code, and I will show you the most sophisticated and most easy, the easiest approach to do this. Okay, so we will similarly take this input. So rows is equal to int, and we will take an input here, enter the number of rows. Okay, so what we want is, we want the number of rows as an input, and we will store that in our rows. Okay, so similarly what we will do is, we will iterate over this for I in range starting from 1 going up to rows plus 1. Okay, so now what we will do is, we will simply print a star. Okay, so we will simply print a star here, and we will provide end is equal to this, and what we will do is, we will multiply this string with I. Okay, so what will happen here is, we are using this I. Okay, so let me just show you this program first. So let me run this. Okay, so enter number of rows. If I will enter 3, you can see this 1 2 3 and these this output here. So now what we just want is, we want to get this in a single line, and for that what we can, oh sorry, in new line. So for that I will provide \n here, and now let me run this. Okay, sorry, let me run this in our terminal. So now as you can see, we have these 3 lines printed on our terminal. So what is happening here? So what we are doing is, we are multiplying the number of strings. Okay, so this string, what will happen if we multiply this string with I? So let me just show you this thing. Okay, if I will print star multiplied by 10, so what will happen is, this star will get multiplied 10 times. Okay, you can see 10 times this star. Okay, or simply any character you want. Okay, if I will put A here, then you can see A 10 times. Okay, so just like that, the A will be printed 10 times if we multiply this string with an integer. Similarly, what we are doing here, we are multiplying this string with I, and I is ranging from 1 to number of rows. So what is happening here is, for if I is equal to 1 here, okay, so if I is equal to 1, what will happen? This star will be multiplied by 1, so we will get 1 star here, and end \n will manage the new line. Okay, so we will go to the new line here, and what will happen? I will be 2 now, and if I will be 2, this I will be 2 as well, and the star will get multiplied by 2, and so we will see 2 stars, and then this end will again manage to control that it will manage that we will go to the next line. We go to the next line. Okay, so we will go to the next line, and this I will be 3 now. So now if I is 3, this star will be multiplied by 3, and we will see 3 stars, and then 4 stars, and then 5 stars similarly. Okay, so this is the most sophisticated approach, and as you can see, we have achieved the same output in just 3 lines of code. And in here, what we have done is, we have used 1 2 3 4 5 lines. Okay, so we have used 5 lines of code in this approach, and it is a bit complicated. I accept that this is very complicated for a beginner, but this approach is the most sophisticated and easier approach to do this program. Okay, so that's my way in which I have tried this program. If you want to try something new, then you can always try that, and if you find another simple way, then mention that in the comments below. Okay, so with that said, we have now learned about, but here we are not using nested loops, as you can see. So I was just showing you the most simple or most easier approach to do this program, and this is the perfect approach. This is the traditional approach, as you can see. Say this is the traditional approach to do this program. Okay, so now let me just erase all this. Let me clean the slate. So now we are here again. So now what we just did, that we printed a pattern. So now what we are going to do is we are moving to the next step. So now what we are going to do is we are going to print for I in range. First of all, we'll go from 1 to 11, as you can see. Then we will print for j in range. Okay, j in range from 1 to 11. And what we will do is we will print I into j, okay, with end is equal to nothing. Okay, so now what will happen is we are printing, first of all, when I is equal to 1, we are going from 1 to 10 in this j. So for I is equal to 1, we are going from 1 to 10. Okay, so j will go from 1 to 10, and here not plus, multiply. Okay, multiplied by j. Now let me run this code, and as you can see here, this is the output. We are printing numbers like this. Okay, so just let me do one thing, is we need to print a \n here. So \n. Okay, let me save this and let me rerun the code. So now as you can see, you have learned in your first or second standard this table. Okay, this table goes from 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 up to 100. Okay, so and you can also see that these are the tables. Okay, so 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 10, this is 1's table, this is 2's table. Okay, this table is 2 4 6 8, this is 3's table, and you can see this like this as well, 2 4 6 8 10. So similarly you can achieve this output. Okay, let me just minimize it. Okay, so as you can see here, so this is the output which we got. So just like this, you can also try printing some different programs, which will always help you in your building your logic, and it will always help you to learn something new. You should always learn something new. So try to learn this. Try to print as many as programs as you try to do as many as programs as you can, and just search on net that pattern printing programs, and then you can learn about them, you can study them. Okay, because I can't show you everything you need. Okay, I can't show you all the things which are in Python, because it will take ages to consider. Okay, so I can't do that, but you can practice this on your own, and it will be a lot of fun, let me tell you. Okay, so now what happened here is we printed this with using this for loop. So when I was 1, this j started from 1 and went up to 11. So what happened is we printed I, so 1 into 1, 1 into 2, 1 into 3, 1 into 4, 1 into 5, up to 1 into 10. Okay, so this loop executed 10 times when I was 1. This loop executed 10 times for I is equal to 2. This loop executed 10 times for I is equal to 3. This loop executed 4 times for I is equal to 4. So just like that, this loop always executed 10 times, but the value of I changed, and that's why this I into j just managed to print the table. Okay, so just like that, you can always try to print as many as pattern programs as you can, which will help you in nested loops practice. Okay, which will help you to practice nested loops in depth. Okay, so with that said, we have successfully completed our nested loops session, or today's video. So if you like my videos, please do subscribe, and give a comment below that I like your videos, which will motivate me a lot. And if you haven't accessed my Python programming playlist, then you can find the link below in the description. So with that said, I will see you in the next video. Thank you.